Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. It's my podcast. For those of you, if this is your first time, every Tuesday at 4 o'clock, I come live on Mind Your Health podcast, talking about all the things that you can apply in your life to change the way you think, feel, and do in your life to feel better, to overcome autoimmunity and other ailments that you might be struggling with. I believe in the Alkaline Method. I am of the mind that health is a whole picture. It's not just some pieces of the puzzle, the way it's being practiced in the world of holistic and conventional medicine. So today I want to talk to you about habit of being your sick self is or might be the root cause of your autoimmunity. So I want to make it a point to make sure you guys understand that we are our very habits. And so often, practitioners like myself completely ignore our inner ability to heal ourselves. And because I lived with an autoimmune condition for over 20 years, I know a thing or two about all the stumbling blocks in the way we believe in certain things, in the way we think and feel, and how that affects our physiology. So, I want to break down the fact that we have our thoughts and feelings that are outside of our physicality. It's an abstract thing to be able to think. We can't measure, like, I can't know what you're thinking unless you then vocalize something. And even then, what really underlying your beliefs might be very different from what you're saying to me, right? We have a lot of belief systems that run our lives. And so much of the time, we are in the habit of lying to ourselves and misrepresenting how we really truly feel in our efforts to fit into our constructs that we've created for ourselves. For example, in your relationships, if you have a difficult time speaking up to really relay the true feelings that you feel with your partner, and you're constantly at crossroads because you feel unappreciated, neglected, abandoned, all those things, it might be because you're not vocalizing them. You're not confident enough to vocalize for the fear of them abandoning you, neglecting you, abusing you, whatever the reasons might be. These are things that affect our physiology, but thoughts are something that I cannot measure. If you and I were having a conversation in a room, I could not measure what you're thinking. I don't have telepathic powers, nor do you. We are only basing our each other's interpretation on our body language, on what your thoughts are about me and my thoughts are about you. If we have a mutual liking for each other, then we might have a better conversation. But sometimes you've had these instances where you are with somebody and something just doesn't fit right, and you have this gut feeling and you don't like that person for whatever reason. It might be something that you triggered or triggers you. These are things that are subjective. These are things that are intangible. It's not something scientists or any evidence-based scientific medical treatments or anything can measure. Now, we can measure our brain and its physiology. So I want you to really recognize the fact that our thoughts and feelings do have a surge of power, and it's able to affect our physiology, which is brain based, to affect the workings of our cells at the cellular level, right? And cells are something tangible. It's impacted by the intangible thoughts and the feelings that we feel. And as scientists and as healthcare practitioners, we haven't done a good job, unless you're a psychotherapist. And even then, as a psychologist with mental health, we really talk a lot about our pasts, but we don't really have a solution to how to move forward, not recognizing that these beliefs and thought paradigms that we hold are just habits that we can easily break, right? So as you sit, I want you to think about the fact that you're not telling your heart to beat. You're not telling yourself, breathe, right? And then you breathe. It just breathes by itself. As I'm talking to you here, my body just knows inherently when to breathe, when to take a pause. Or if I'm angry or fearful, blood pressure might go rise up, as well as my heart rate and my voice, my intonation, things like that. Without me even knowing, it might come through my physiology. because it affects me in that way. So extrapolating those tendencies in our physiology, I'm here to tell you that it's the habit of you being locked in or attached to your suffering might be the root cause of your autoimmune condition or the symptoms that might be telling you, knocking at your doors to say, pay attention to my physiology. Because these are things that we don't recognize. And the moment that our body works against us and we start to have physiological symptoms, all along we've been ignoring, neglecting, and abandoning our bodies and its physiology. And then all of a sudden we expect the doctor or the acupuncturist or a chiropractor to treat us, and we look for answers outside of us. That very thing is a construct that is completely upside down, is what I want you guys to recognize. That you have this inherent ability to heal yourselves if you trust in your physiology. And I am telling you, through the workings of placebo and nocebo effects, our minds and our feelings have the ability to create a inner balance, to trigger a inherent intelligence to be activated, because it's by default designed to be in a state of well-being. And well-being is nothing other than being in a state of equanimity. It's in perfect balance. We've lost sight of that, and we get upset, we get fearful, and we talked about how fear is a parasite to your health, and it degrades our gut lining. It affects our HPA axis, which is hypopituitary adrenal axis, to tamper with our endocrinological system, which includes the thyroid. And a lot of autoimmune patients end up getting Hashimoto's. So if you're one of those people who have thyroid issues and you're taking Synthroid, well, you're bypassing your body's natural ability to heal itself, and you're giving it what the thyroid gland should be producing. And so you're telling through biofeedback mechanisms to stop producing the very thing your body needs to produce. Instead, you're giving it synthetic forms of something that has irreversible consequences. This is just one small example of how your physiology works. The very reason that keeps you stuck in the cycle of pain and suffering is so blinding sometimes, that you keep perpetuating what you don't see. And this is why I created the Alkaline Method with its 4 essential elements that includes all the element pieces to make you complete. It includes your subconscious mind. It's the side of you that you don't even know that you operate from. It's the beliefs and the stories that you tell yourself that you're so attached to. In fact, you don't even know that you're attached to the suffering. The suffering becomes the very thing that you hold on to and become attached to because it's what's familiar. And I didn't realize that for so long, I was attached to my pain and suffering, so much so that I didn't want to let go of it. I almost had a white grip on it. And to let go of that was to let go of my identity. And I didn't even know that until I was able to take a closer examination of the thoughts and the feelings that I was perpetuating in my own life. By thinking and feeling the same thing over and over again, it became such a familiar state of being, so much so that that became me. And when somebody asked me to change that, and that I had this ability to shift and change my very perspective and the beliefs, that was news to me. And it takes a while for you to go from your subconscious element of the Alkaline Method into the conscious element to recognize the full picture and realize that there are no good or bad. It just is. Life is as is, and we have to love what is. And bringing that component into the mix to realize that we have a spectrum, like we have rainbows of colors, that we have a spectrum of life experiences, but we attach meanings to these experiences based on what we believe about the past of where we've been. And so we keep perpetuating our future based on our past. And so we create more of the same. And so to leave your life or live your life right now the way you've been living is to perpetuate your sickness. And the Alkaline Method, through the work of the Alkaline Method and the transformative effects of that, I move into the third element, which is the modern functional medicine, where we can apply all the things, brain-based medicine, evidence-based medicine, to affect your HPA axis, which is your stress-brain relationship, thereby affecting your gut-brain relationship, and thereby decreasing your inflammation to really have a better handle on your immune-brain relationship, to make sure all those things are in place. And only then can we evolve into our fourth element of our alkaline method, which is timeless wisdom piece, where yoga is used as the ultimate path to your self-healing journey. And in that way, we're able to tie everything together in one cohesive system and method, so that you can walk the walk, talk the talk, think the thoughts, feel the feelings in the direction that you need to create this equanimity and this state of well-being in your life. And when you're able to achieve that, guess what? Your cure is at your own volition, and it becomes your inner power that you tap into. And when you do that, when you recognize this actual truth, then you have all the power in the world to direct your body in the direction that you want, which is ultimately to completely heal. The doctors and the modern medicine will tell you that you're in remission. So be it. They're not going to tell you that it's curable, because they can't. There's a lot of liabilities in that, because they're so based in this one element piece of the bigger puzzle in the alkaline method, which is the modern functional medicine or modern medicine piece, because they want to direct everything in a tangible way where they can measure, right? We can't measure all the abstract things that govern our body to process information in that way. There's no way that I can have a pulse in all the variables in your life, because how the autoimmunity or your disease process or symptoms or physiology affects you might affect me very differently. It depends on your genetic makeup, your blueprint, your upbringing, your past, and your conditioning and your temperament. There are so many different variables. To say I know would be a disservice to you as a practitioner. And I know a lot of things, only to realize that there are things that I don't know, that I need to ultimately respect your own volition. And my work in working with you through this podcast, through Mind Your Health podcast, as well as our ultimate alkaline transformation method, is ultimately to bring you back to the awareness that you hold the power. The inner power is within you, that I can only serve as the guide with all the pieces of the puzzle to guide you through the process of your self-healing journey. Because if you're not on board, for you to rely on practitioners like me to fix you is the very premise that's going to be set up for failure. You'll never get well. And so I hope you understand the power that you have. And this whole podcast is all about bringing you back to your own inner power, so that you can stand in your power, so that you can direct the healing within you. And that can be amplified to the nth degree if you apply all the functional medicine pieces. But first, you have to be involved in your own care to affect a change subconsciously. It's in all the things that you're not aware of, all the belief systems and the stories that you tell yourself, all the identity that you hold, all the attachments that you hold. We have to go on a journey to really question all the things, to make sure that we only keep the things that serve you, to help you in your healing journey. And then that will be the first element, just uncovering all the things you didn't know you were holding on to. And then move into the second element, which is the consciousness. And you really start to begin to see and expand your mind to the possibilities of your healing, and really detach from what you know of yourself. And only then can you evolve and then move into applying all the things in functional medicine piece, to be able to utilize that to amplify your health. And then you evolve and grow by applying the last piece, which is the timeless wisdom through the yoga, bringing you back to you. It's a comprehensive system. And I've designed it that way to make sure that you're complete in your own healing, and you're able to maintain the longevity and health for as long as you can. So that's the whole method. I hope this was really insightful for you. The biggest thing I want you to take away from this week's message is to understand that you hold the power to your own healing ability. Don't give that power away to anybody else. Really hold on to that before you seek another practitioner to help you. They can only help you to the extent that you're involved in your own care and take full responsibility for your own care, because that's you stepping into your own power so that you can ultimately heal yourself. And that's really the path of our Alkaline Method. If you're interested in knowing more about our method, please join me in our free Facebook group. It's called Tribe of Autoimmune Health Rebels. And that's where I share all the nuggets and wisdom and all the pieces of the bigger puzzle to put you whole, so that you recognize in you stepping into your own power to recognize that you have your own healing power within you. And only then, when you recognize that and then apply all the things that are being shared in the group, can you truly heal from the inside out. Directionally, it needs to be from inside out. Nothing happens from outside in. So I hope with that was helpful. I would love to know your feedback. Please comment below and DM us and join us in our group to have more conversations there. And I would love it if you would share your review in our review in Mind Your Health podcast through iTunes. And I would love to hear from you. And I read every single one of those reviews. And thank you so much for joining me today. And I'll see you guys all soon.